Romance of Sui and Tang Dynasties Chapter 89.
Picture this. You are the CEO of a massive legacy corporation. I'm talking a company that defined the industry for like 50 years.
You built it, or at least you were there for the golden age.
Exactly. But suddenly, the market just crashes.
Oh.
A competitor is literally taking over your branch offices one by one, and your best regional manager just got, well, in this case, killed.
It's the nightmare scenario, the founder's trap. You look around and you realize, okay, middle management is failing. I have to go down to the factory floor and fix this myself.
Right, you feel that pressure, you decide you're going to save the company, but then as you're heading out the door, your board of directors, who, by the way, are also your in-laws, they tackle you in the hallway.
And they're just screaming, crying.
No, you can't go. We love you too much. You're too important.
Which sounds good, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds flattering.
Yeah.
But let's be honest about what's really happening. They are not worried about you.
Not at all.
They're terrified that if you leave, the person you put in charge is going to audit the books and fire them.
And that is precisely the dynamic we are walking into today. Except, instead of a boardroom, we're in the Tang Dynasty, one of the absolute high points of Chinese civilization.
And instead of golden parachutes, we're talking about executions, face-ripping ghosts, and some pretty serious psychological horror.
It is such a fascinating mess. Chapter 89.
And before you tune out thinking this is some dry history lesson, you really need to reset your expectations.
Oh, absolutely. This is not a textbook. This reads like Game of Thrones meets a fever dream.
It really does.
We've got the An-Lushan rebellion raging, an emperor trying to save his legacy, a family trying to save their own skins, and a supernatural intervention that, honestly, gave me the creeps.
It's a perfect case study on how personal survival instincts can doom an entire empire. So let's set the scene. We're in the mid-8th century. The Tang Dynasty has been glorious, but you can see the cracks starting to form.
And the biggest crack has a name, An-Lushan. He's a rebel general leading this massive uprising. And in our source text, things have just gone from bad to catastrophic. And Lushan has just captured Shenli Commandery.
Right, and the details are brutal. The defender there, Zhang Jiruan, has been killed. When this news hits the capital, it's a huge wake-up call for Emperor Xuanzang.
He's been on the throne for decades. He's seen it all. But he realizes this rebellion, the momentum is fierce, the usual strategies are just not working.
So Xuanzang has this moment of clarity. He calls his ministers together and he drops a bombshell. He admits the situation is dire, but then he confesses something really interesting.
Yeah, he says essentially, look, I've wanted to retire for a while now.
I wanted to pass the baton to the crown prince, but I kept delaying because of, floods and droughts.
Which to a modern ear, that sounds like a bit of an excuse, right? Oh, it was raining, so I couldn't retire.
But in the context of the mandate of heaven, that's everything. Natural disasters were seen as cosmic feedback.
Like the universe leaving a bad Yelp review.
Exactly. If there are floods and droughts, it means the emperor, the son of heaven, is out of alignment with the cosmos. He's basically admitting a spiritual failure. He's saying, the universe has been telling me for years that I'm losing my touch.
Wow. That adds a whole layer of guilt to his next decision. So he decides on a drastic course of action. He announces an imperial campaign.
He says, I will lead the army personally.
It's the CEO steps in moment. He's going to crush this thing himself. And while he's gone, he orders the crown prince will monitor the state, act as regent.
And the plan is logical. I fight, the prince governs, we win, I retire, and then I can sleep on high pillows.
Which is a great phrase for having zero stress. On paper, this is a solid plan. It shows leadership, it prepares for succession, but there is one massive problem.
And his name is Yang Guzong.
The prime minister, and crucially, the cousin of the emperor's favorite person in the world, Consort Yang, Yang Guifei.
Now, help us understand the stakes for him. When the emperor announces this plan, the source says the other ministers are quiet. But Yang Guzong is internally just screaming.
Why? I mean, if the emperor wins the war, doesn't that make everyone look good?
It's not about the war. It's never about the war for him. It's about the regent. Yang Guzong knows that if the emperor leaves, the crown prince takes charge. And he has very, very dark history with the crown prince.
They're just rivals. They're enemies.
It's worse than that. The source gives us his internal monologue. He remembers conspiring with the late Li Limfu, a really ruthless chancellor, to frame and harm the crown prince in the past.
So there's bad blood.
There's, I tried to ruin your life blood. Yang Guzong thinks the prince hates me. The only reason I'm safe is because the emperor loves my cousin. But if he gets the keys to the kingdom...
The entire Yang family is toast.
His exact prediction is no descendants of the Yang clan will survive. He sees this imperial campaign not as a military victory, but as his own death sentence.
So this is where the politics just get unbelievably dirty. You'd think the prime minister would be rushing to the war room.
Yep.
Instead, the text says he rushes home crying.
Literally crying. He runs to his wife, Pei, and the Duchesses of Han and Guo, who are Yang Guifei's sisters. And he tells them, "We are all dead men walking."
It's so selfish. The empire's on fire and he's worried about his job security. But he convinces them. They all agree they're just waiting for execution.
And Duchess Guo, who seems to be the tactical one, says, "Stop crying. Crying solves nothing. We need to go to the palace. We need to get to Yang Guifei."
The strategy is simple. Weaponize the emperor's love for her.
And this isn't just a polite request. The source describes this incredible theatrical performance by Yang Guifei.
It really is a performance. When her sisters tell her what's at stake, she realizes she has to go all out. She enters the emperor's presence, but first she strips off her hairpins and her earrings.
And that's a huge signal. In the Tang court, your headdress, your jewelry, that's your rank. By taking them off, she's stripping herself of her status. She's just a vulnerable woman, not a powerful consort.
And then the text says she holds yellow soil in her mouth. I had to read that twice. Actual dirt.
Yes. It's an ancient symbol of extreme humility. By holding earth in her mouth, she's symbolizing that she is beneath him, that she is mute with grief, and then she prostrates herself before him.
That is just so intense. But what's her actual argument? She can't say, "Don't go because your son hates my cousin."
No, she can't give the game away. She has to make it about him. And she uses 3 arguments, and they are masterful. First, safety. She calls him the 10,000 chariots and says he's too valuable to act as a general.
You're too important to do the heavy lifting.
Exactly. Second, a bit of reverse psychology. She implies that if he leads the army, it's an insult to his generals. It suggests there's no one else capable in the empire.
Clever. But the third one, that seems like the real knockout punch.
Oh, it is. Emotional blackmail. Pure and simple. She says she literally cannot bear to be separated from him.
She threatens suicide, right?
She does. She said she would rather smash her head on the steps and die right there than be left behind. She frames her manipulation as the ultimate act of loyalty. I love you so much, I'd rather die than be apart.
And Xuanzang, he buys it.
Hook, line, and sinker. The text says he is deeply moved. You have to remember, he's an old man now. He's not the warrior he used to be. He sees this woman who just adores him. He's comforting her, wiping away her tears. But the seed of doubt is planted.
And then, as if on cue, the crown prince makes a move that seals the deal.
This is the 4D chess moment of the text.
A petition arrives from the prince, and this surprised me. He declines the role of regent.
Right. And he also advises against the emperor leading the army himself.
But why? If the prince hates the Yangs, wouldn't he want the power? Wouldn't he want his dad to leave so he can take charge?
It seems like it, but think about the paranoia in that court. If the prince accepts the regency too eagerly, it looks suspicious.
It looks like he wants his father gone.
It could look like a coup in the making. By declining and by showing concern for his father's safety, he appears to be the perfect loyal son. He completely neutralizes any accusation that he's power-hungry.
Everyone is playing angles, so faced with a crying wife and a loyal son, the emperor caves.
He pivots. He cancels his personal campaign. The crisis for the Yang family is averted. They're safe.
But the war is still happening. The rebels are still coming, so what's the compromise?
It's a dilution of leadership. He appoints a different prince as Grand Marshal, mostly a figurehead, and makes the General Gao Jianzi the Vice Marshal to actually lead the troops.
And he appoints a supervisor, a eunuch.
Yes, and this is a historically tragic detail. He wants his trusted eunuch, Gao Lishi, to go. But Gao Lishi refuses.
Which tells you how bad things really are. Even the trusted aides are opting out.
So they appoint a different eunuch, Bian Lingcheng, as the army supervisor.
You should stick a pin in that name, Bian Lingcheng, even if you don't know the history. That just sounds ominous.
It is disastrous. Historically, Bian Lingcheng is the one who later slanders General Gao Jianzi, which gets the general executed. That execution cripples the Tang defense. It is a direct result of this moment.
A decision made based on domestic convenience, not military strategy.
And speaking of convenience, once the decision is made, the Yang family breathes a huge sigh of relief.
And they celebrate. The emperor wants to comfort Yang Guifei, so they throw a feast. The duchesses are there. There's music. Huanzang is playing drums. Guifei is playing the lute.
They're drinking deep into the night. It's this stark contrast, isn't it? The empire is burning and the leadership is having a late-night jam session because they dodged a political bullet.
The text calls it finding joy in sorrow. But that night, the bill comes due, the emperor goes to sleep, and his subconscious invades.
And this is where we get to the nightmare part of our title. This dream sequence is just bizarre.
It's so surreal. He dreams he's back at the Hawking Palace. He sees a small ghost.
A mischievous, strange-looking little spirit. This thing sneaks in, takes Yang Guifei's jade flute off the wall and starts blowing into it. Then it starts dancing around her.
And the emperor is just watch it.
He's trying to stop it. He wants to shout, but he can't. He's paralyzed, classic sleep paralysis. But then the dream takes this psychological turn that I think is the key to the whole story.
The identity swap. This part gave me chills.
It is the aha moment. Xuanzong looks at the person sleeping at the table. Who should be Yang Guifei? But instead of the consort, he sees a man in dragon robes.
He sees another emperor.
He sees a figure that looks like a ruler. And then the ghost holds up a mirror to Xuanzong. And when Xuanzong looks at his own reflection,
He sees a woman.
a woman with beautiful hair and an embroidered jacket.
Okay, let's unpack that. What is his subconscious telling him? Why is he the woman and she's the man?
I think it's a profound critique of the power dynamics. The emperor is supposed to be the yang principle, masculine, active, ruling. The consort is yin, feminine, passive. But what actually happened earlier that day?
She controlled him. She used her tears to dictate military policy.
Exactly. She was the active decision maker. He was the passive one who yielded. His subconscious is screaming the truth at him. You have lost your agency. You have become the passive beauty, and the beauty has become the ruler.
That is deep. He's the emperor in name only. He's become decorative.
Precisely. And the ghost is mocking him, dancing around, creating chaos. The emperor is powerless.
Until the hero arrives.
And what an entrance. The text says a huge black figure jumps down from the sky.
This guy sounds terrifying. Ragged hat, black robes, leopard eyes, curly beard.
A force of nature.
Yeah.
And the violence is immediate. He grabs the small ghost, gouges out its eyes, heats them, and then tears the ghost apart and devours it.
Okay, so this is not a friendly Ghostbuster. This is a monster eating another monster. The emperor is freaked out and asks, "Who are you?"
And the figure says, I am Zhong Kui.
Zhang Ku, the demon queller, and his backstory is surprisingly tragic.
It is. He says he was a scholar from Zanan Mountain. He took the civil service exams, but he failed.
He failed the exams.
The text says he was upright in life, but failed or was rejected. In some versions of the legend, it's because he was too ugly, just being brilliant.
So he died a failure, a reject of the system.
But after death, he swore to fight evil spirits. He tells Xuanzong, I've come to drive this away for your majesty. And then he's gone. Xuanzong wakes up, terrified. And then, out of nowhere, a scream just shatters the peace. It's Yang Guifei, waking up in absolute blood-curdling terror. Yang Guifei is screaming. The emperor, Xuanzong, wakes her up, asks her what's wrong, and she tells him she saw a ghost. But the description is, it's really specific.
It's incredibly specific. She says the ghost came from the rear of the palace. It was dancing at her, waving its hands. And there was another figure there, a beautiful woman who was trying to, wave it away, trying to stop it. But the ghost just ignored her.
And here's the detail that really gives you chills. The ghost speaks to Yang Guifei.
It does.
It calls her Your Majesty, Bixia.
Yeah.
Now, she's the consort. She's powerful, sure, but she's not the emperor. Why would a ghost call her Your Majesty?
That's the first clue that the whole energy of the court is out of whack. It's a violation of the hierarchy. But then it gets even more disturbing. The ghost throws something at her. A white ribbon or a belt right around her neck.
Which, if you know how Yang Guifei's story ends in actual history, that is some seriously heavy foreshadowing.
It's grim. For anyone who might not know, she is later forced to commit suicide by strangulation with a silk ribbon. So the text is telling you right here, this is the end game. But in that moment, it's just pure terror. And you'd think the emperor would just say, it's just a dream, it's okay. But he doesn't.
No, he says, that's really weird because I had a dream too.
Exactly. Xuanzong says he also dreamt of a ghost. And he even has a name for it. Zhang Ku.
Okay, before we even get to Zhang Ku, because he's a whole story on his own, the conversation they have right after this is so strange. They start joking about swapping genders.
This is where the source material gets very metaphysical, They're trying to laugh it off. The emperor jokes about, Luan and Feng inverted. Luan and Feng are these mythical birds. They represent male and female. He's basically saying, oh, maybe we're so close our souls have swapped genders.
But then the narrator of the text steps in and tells the reader, no, this isn't a joke, this is literal.
Right. The narrator comes out and says this dream is revealing their true forms from their past lives. The source claims that Yang Guifei is actually the reincarnation of Emperor Yang of the Sui dynasty.
Well, hold on. Emperor Yang of Sui. He was the villain, right?
The great tyrant.
The archetypal tyrant. A male emperor whose excess and corruption led to the fall of the Sui dynasty.
Yeah.
Which, of course, allowed the Tang to rise in the first place.
And Xuanzang, the Tang emperor.
He's supposedly the reincarnation of one of that tyrant's concubines, a woman named Gaer. So the ghost calling her Your Majesty wasn't a mistake. It was seeing her past life.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And the implication is just devastating for the Tang. It's this idea that the soul of the tyrant has come back as a beautiful woman to destroy the Tang dynasty from the inside. It's like a karmic revenge plot playing out over generations.
That changes the entire story. It's not a romance anymore.
No, the source frames it as a sign of declining luck, or Shi Shuai Qi Bu Wang. The idea is that when a dynasty's time is up, the spiritual walls get weak, ghosts and old debts start to break through.
So the next morning, the emperor is, understandably, pretty shaken up. He goes to court and basically asks the room, hey, does anyone here know a guy named Zong Ku?
Which is such a strange question for an emperor to ask, but amazingly, someone actually knows the answer.
Minister Wang Wei.
Yep, the famous poet Wang Wei. He stands up and says, actually, yes, I used to live in Zhongyan. I know that legend.
And the backstory is so tragic, I was expecting this big warrior.
Not at all. Wang Wei explains that Zong Ku was a scholar in the early Tang. He took the military exam, and he was brilliant, but he failed.
Well, why did he fail?
The legend says it was because of his appearance. He was considered ugly, and he faced this terrible injustice from the examiners.
Wow. Talk about exam stress.
And he took it so hard, he was so filled with shame and anger that he smashed his head against the stone steps of the exam hall and died on the spot.
That is quite an exit.
It is.
Yeah.
But the officials felt bad for him, so they buried him in a green robe, which was the symbol of an official rank. They gave him in death what he was denied in life. And the legend says that because of that gratitude and his unresolved anger at injustice, his spirit became a demon queller for the Tang dynasty.
So Xuanzang hears this story and is like, that's him. That's the guy from my dream. And he doesn't call a priest or an exorcist. He calls a painter.
He calls Wu Daozi, who's basically the most famous artist of the dynasty. The emperor describes his dream, and Wu Daozi paints this definitive, iconic image of Zong Ku, the demon hunter.
And the emperor loves it so much, he actually gives the ghost a promotion.
He does. He posthumously awards Zong Ku the title Zhang Zuanwan, top scholar. It's like he's correcting that past injustice.
Then he orders the painting to be copied onto the palace doors. But, and this is a really cool detail, not the front doors.
No, and this is a key cultural point. The front gates were already guarded by images of the great founding generals, Qin Shi Bao and Yu Jingde, real historical heroes. So the emperor orders Zong Ku to be painted on the rear gates.
To catch the ghosts coming from the back of the palace, like in the dream.
Exactly. And the source says this is why, even today, you might see images of Zong Ku on back doors or inside a home while the generals guard the main entrance. It all comes from this one nightmare.
Okay, so ghost problem solved. He's got his supernatural bodyguard. Everything should be fine now, right?
You'd think so. But this is where the story pivots. Looking at that painting, it triggers something in Xuanzang. He starts thinking, all right, I've got someone to catch ghosts, but who's going to catch the bandits?
And there it is, the shift from the supernatural to the real world.
It's a moment of clarity for him. He's looking at the painting of Zhang Kui, this ghost, and it makes him think of the real generals on his front door, Qin Shi Bao and Yu Jingde. And he has this sudden sinking realization, I don't have guys like that anymore.
He starts getting nostalgic, and he remembers two specific people that he fired, Qin Guomo and Qin Gozhen.
And look at the names. They're the great-grandsons of Qin Shi Bao, the very man on his front door.
Oh, the irony. He's got the ancestor on the door for protection, but he kicked out the living descendants. Why did he fire them again?
Because they warned him. They warned him about An Lushan. They told him this general in the north was getting way too powerful, that he was a traitor in the making. And the emperor, who was favoring An Lushan at the time, didn't want to hear it, so he got rid of them.
But now with all this ghost anxiety, he realizes they were right all along. He admits it was a great mistake, and he sends out a decree to hire them back.
So now the scene shifts. We leave the palace and we go out to the suburbs where the Qin brothers are living in seclusion.
Yeah, I get the sense they're just trying to keep their heads down. A sort of forced early retirement.
Very cautious, but they're also privately very worried. They know a storm is coming.
And there's that little human detail in there, too. One of the brothers, Qin Guzhen, is secretly heartbroken over some girl he met.
Yes, at a place called Jikingfang. It just adds this layer of personal melancholy to the whole thing. Everything feels a bit lost and uncertain.
But then a visitor shows up, and the whole energy of the story just flips. Enter Nan Jiyun, eighth brother.
Nan Jiyun is such a great character. If the Qin brothers are the strategists, he is pure action. He's described as generous and full of integrity. A tough guy from Guizhou, an expert writer and archer. He's the complete opposite of the courtly life of the palace.
He sounds like the guy you want on your side when things get real.
Absolutely. He's a family friend, but he's been drifting, looking for a leader worth serving.
But he's not just drifting. He's on a mission. He's headhunting.
That's right. He's looking for a man named Zhang Xun. And this is where the story starts assembling what is basically the dream team of the Tang resistance.
It really does feel like one of those movies where they're getting the crew together. He's looking for Zhang Xun based on a recommendation from another guy, Zhu Hong.
Right, and the text gives us these quick, potent profiles. Yu Yuan is deep, wise, loyal. Then there's Zhang Xun. He's a scholar and a strategist, but he has this one ability the text highlights as just unbelievable.
The memory thing.
The memory thing. The text says, if Zhang Xun sees 10,000 people, he can recognize every single face and remember every single name. Forever.
That's insane. It's a photographic memory for people.
Think about what that means for a general. He knows every soldier by name. He remembers every enemy officer he's ever seen. It's a leadership superpower.
So Nan Jiyun is telling the Qin brothers, I'm going to find this guy. These are the men we need to be ready.
The atmosphere in that room is electric. You've got the Qin brothers with their political foresight. You have Nan Jiyun, the warrior. And they're all realizing that while the emperor is worrying about ghosts, the real work of saving the state is up to men like them.
And they don't have to wait very long for that to be proven right, because right then, while they're sitting there drinking, the news arrives.
A flying express. It's the ancient equivalent of a breaking news alert. A messenger galloping into the capital.
And Lucian has rebelled.
Officially. He's raised an army in Fanyang. The very thing the Qin brothers were fired for predicting has just happened.
And I love the brothers' reaction. They're not even surprised. They just slop the table and say, we knew it. We knew the traitor would do this.
It's bitter validation. But look at Nan Jiyun's reaction. It's so visceral. He slaps his own chest. He says, this is not the time for us to rest. I have this cavity of hot blood and it must be spilled somewhere.
I have a cavity of hot blood and it must be spilled. I mean, what a line. You don't get that in modern politics.
It's pure loyalty. He doesn't panic. He gets excited. He's ready. He decides on the spot, tomorrow I'm going to find Zhang Xun. We need to save the country.
It's such a stark contrast. In the beginning, we have the emperor and his consort paralyzed by a nightmare about a ghost. Now we have these guys in the suburbs hearing about a civil war, and their immediate reaction is, let's get to work.
It perfectly highlights the disconnect between the court and the country. The emperor is always reactive. He reacts to the dream by painting a door. He reacts to his fear by trying to rehire the men he fired. He's always a step behind.
While Nan Jiyun and the others, they're proactive. They're ready to go before the call even comes.
We aren't in the imperial palace yet, and we are not on the front lines. We're in that messy, chaotic middle ground where society is starting to fracture.
And people are desperately trying to figure out where they fit in a world that's just collapsing.
Exactly.
So the rebellion is the backdrop, but the story is really about the formation of a resistance cell. It's about how a team comes together. And what's so compelling about this chapter is that it challenges our assumptions about who gets to be a hero. You know, we expect the general on the horse.
Of course.
We don't necessarily expect the musician in the garden.
How strangers become sworn brothers, how these deep-seated class prejudices almost derail the resistance before it even starts.
And how loyalty just manifests in completely different ways, depending on whether you're holding a sword or, you know, a flute.
It's a total study in character.
It really is.
Nan Jiyun, and he's looking for Zhang Xun.
And for anyone who knows their Tang history, Zhang Xun is a titan. I mean, he's the man who eventually holds the siege of Suyang.
A huge figure.
But at this specific moment in the text, he's just been promoted to defense commissioner of Yangqi. He's really the only one organizing a coherent defense.
So Jiyun rides into the capital. He has this letter of introduction he's ready to serve.
Mm-hmm.
He goes to Zhang Sun's residence expecting to find, like, the headquarters of the resistance. And instead,
Nothing. Empty house.
the bird has flown.
Yeah. The text notes that Zhang Sun had already left for his post in Yangqiu several days before.
But I think we need to pause on that frustration for a second.
Yeah.
In a modern context, you'd just text someone.
Or check the news.
But here, Jian has likely traveled for weeks, risking his life on roads that are probably filled with bandits or rebels, only to find out he missed his guy by a few days.
It just emphasizes the sheer logistical chaos of the time. Information moved at the speed of a horse.
Yeah.
So Jiyun is left stranded in the capital with all this, martial potential and nowhere to direct it. He's a weapon without a commander.
So, feeling defeated, he heads back to his home of the Qin family, Qingguomo and Qin Guochun.
The Qin brothers. And this is significant because the text explicitly calls them the brothers Lunonguns.
Which means they both talk the imperial examinations.
Precisely. To have two brothers both achieve the rank of Shuang Wan, the #1 scholar, that's almost unheard of.
Wow.
It signifies this immense intellectual pedigree. And on top of that, they're descendants of Qin Shubao, one of the founding generals of the Tang dynasty.
So this house is basically the intersection of the highest military lineage and the highest scholarly achievement.
It's the headquarters of the old guard aristocracy, essentially.
Right. And it's outside this very prestigious home. Jian is dismounting, still annoyed about missing Zhongxin, when he literally bumps into a stranger at the gate.
The description here is great.
It is. The text says this stranger is majestic. He's wearing a large hat and a short robe. He just radiates this, call it.
Like main character energy.
Yes, that's it.
It's the concept of qi, or a person's air. In these classical novels, heroes can often recognize each other just by their bearing.
But that recognition is clouded here.
It is, because of the political context. The rebellion has made everyone paranoid.
Right, because when Jiyun sees this tough-looking guy in travel gear, his first thought isn't, oh, a potential friend.
No, he thinks this guy must be a military messenger from the border bringing bad news.
And the stranger is doing the exact same math in his head.
Mm-hmm. He sees Jiyun and thinks he must be coming from the court with official decrees.
It's a standoff. They're profiling each other.
Yeah, and the stranger actually breaks the silence first. He asks if Jiyun is a messenger.
And when Jiyun says, no, I'm just visiting friends, I thought you were the messenger, you can just feel the tension evaporate.
It's this moment of shared relief.
Mm-hmm.
They realize they aren't, functionaries of a collapsing state.
They're just two men of action in a city full of panic.
And the stranger introduces himself as Lei Wanxun.
Lai Wanxun. Now, his backstory is a trope we see a lot in Chinese literature, but it feels very real here.
Mm-hmm.
He tells Jiyun he's from Zhuzhou and that he abandoned literature for martial arts.
The To-be Kungran archetype. The scholar who casts aside the brush to pick up the sword because the times demand it.
And Wanxun admits he wants to serve the country, but just like Jiyun, he hasn't found the right opportunity. He's just drifting.
It's total serendipity. You have Jiyun, who just missed his leader, and Wanxun, who is looking for a leader.
They are two puzzle pieces that just fit perfectly. Jiyun immediately invites him inside to meet the Qin brothers.
And the Qin brothers, showing that aristocratic grace we mentioned, they welcome him without any hesitation.
They all sit down, probably drinking some tea or wine, and the conversation immediately turns to the rebellion.
And they're all on the same page. Everyone's patriotic, everyone's worried, everyone wants to fight. It's a perfect meeting of minds.
Until Jiyun asks the question.
The social landmine.
He just asks, so Wanxun, you're in the capital. Who are you here to visit?
A standard, polite question.
Yeah.
But Wanxun's answer just shatters the mood.
Yeah.
He says, I'm going to the Pear Garden to visit Lei Haking.
Okay, so for anyone who might not know the specific cultural shorthand here, what does visiting the Pear Garden imply to a guy like Jiyun?
The Pear Garden, or Liyuan, was the Imperial Academy for Music and Acting.
Okay.
And while it was prestigious, in terms of access to the emperor, the people in it, musicians, actors, dancers, they were considered a lower social caste than scholars or warriors.
They were just entertainers.
Exactly. They were often associated with the very decadence that people blamed for the rebellion in the first place.
So when Jiyun hears this, he doesn't just hear, I'm visiting a musician. He hears,
I am sucking up to the corrupt court favorites.
yes. Jiyun's reaction is, it's visceral. The text says he becomes angry and displeased.
He just lashes out, calling Lei Haking a lowly actor and a jester.
He basically asks Wanchun, you look like a hero. Why would you degrade yourself by associating with someone like that?
It's a fascinating moment of prejudice. He just met Wanchun, thinks he's great, but is ready to write him off completely because of this one connection.
He assumes Wanchun is just looking for a back door into the court through the entertainment wing.
It reveals the rigidity of Jian's worldview. To him, heroism looks a certain way. It wears armor, it studies strategy.
It does not play the flute.
Exactly. He cannot conceive that honor could exist in the Pear Garden.
And Wanchun's reaction is so disarming. He doesn't get defensive. He doesn't get angry.
He just laughs.
He laughs and then drops the bomb.
I'm not seeking a promotion. Lei He-king is my biological brother.
Talk about a foot-and-mouth moment. Ji-yoon has just insulted his new friend's family to his face.
It is absolutely mortifying. And Ji-yoon immediately apologizes, but I think the most important voice in this scene is actually Kim Guomo, the host.
Right, some scholar steps in.
He says something like, hold on. I've seen Lei He-king. Yes, he's a musician, but he has a loyal and patriotic heart. He is not like the others.
So Kim Guomo is the voice of wisdom here. He's telling June and us, the reader, to suspend judgment.
And he's validating that virtue can exist outside the traditional hierarchy of power. It bridges the gap and allows the alliance to hold.
So crisis averted, Yoon apologizes, and then he shares his plan. He says, I'm going to Yongki to find Zhang Shen. I'm going to fight.
And Wanchun doesn't hesitate for a second. He has found the direction he was looking for.
He's all in.
He says, if you are going to join an extraordinary man like Zhang Shen, take me with you.
The Qin brothers see this energy, this chemistry between the two warriors, and they suggest making it official.
They propose a sworn brotherhood.
Which is a solemn ritual.
A very big deal. They perform the four bows right there in the hall. They vow to share life and death, help each other, and serve the country without double-mindedness.
This is the moment the team is solidified. Before this, they were just travelers. Now they're a unit. But the script flips again almost immediately, because now that they're brothers,
They have to go make that visit to the Pear Garden.
they have to go visit the embarrassing brother.
Yeah.
And I try to put myself in Ji-yoon's shoes here. He's apologized, but he's probably still dreading this.
Oh, for sure. He likely expects Lei He-king to be frivolous, maybe drunk, maybe just completely oblivious to the war.
He expects a courtier, someone detached from reality.
But when they arrive at Lei He-king's residence, the atmosphere is heavy.
Lei He-king welcomes them. He's polite, but he's clearly burdened. And when the conversation turns to politics, he doesn't talk about art. He delivers one of the sharpest critiques of the administration in the entire book.
It is a razor-sharp analysis. He explicitly blames An Lushan for the betrayal, which is, obvious.
Sure.
But then he does something dangerous. He points the finger directly at the Prime Minister, Chancellor Yang Guozhong.
He says the chancellor deceived the emperor with big talk and had no real strategy.
He identifies the rot at the core. He recognizes that the rebellion didn't happen in a vacuum. It happened because the central government was incompetent and arrogant.
And this is where the character dynamic just shifts completely. Ji-yoon, the warrior, is just looking for a fight.
Right.
He-king, the musician, is the one who actually understands why the fight is happening.
He possesses the moral clarity that the warriors lack. And then comes the sacrifice.
He begins to weep.
He turns to his brother Wanchun and tells him to go. He says, you have the strength. You should go with Ji-yoon and make a name for yourself.
But he refuses to go with them.
He refuses.
And this is the part I want to push on a bit. From a modern perspective, his choice seems, well, illogical.
It's hard for us to get our heads around.
He knows the capital is going to fall. He knows the leadership is corrupt. Why stay and die for a regime that he himself admits is failing? Why not go and fight?
It's a difficult choice to understand without the lens of En or imperial grace.
Okay.
He-king explains, I have received the emperor's favor. I must risk my life to repay it. In the Tang context, his position, his art, his entire life was a gift from the emperor. To flee would be to betray that personal bond.
So it's not about the political administration for him. It's about a personal debt of honor to the sovereign himself.
Precisely. Even if the chancellor is a villain, the emperor is still the son of heaven and his patron. So He-king chooses a kind of passive loyalty, standing his ground over the active loyalty of the warriors.
He creates this heartbreaking contrast. He gives them gold and silver for their travel expenses.
Which, by the way, highlights that he's the only one with any real resources here.
Good point. And he pours them wine and tells them, don't act like children clinging to each other. Go.
It's an incredibly stoic moment. He is sending his biological brother away, likely knowing he will never see him again, so that his brother can live and fight.
He's choosing to be the anchor that stays behind.
And Jion is just floored. The text says he leaves the meeting and sighs, calling himself a small man for having judged a gentleman like Haking.
It's the total inversion of the earlier scene.
The lowly jester has proven to be the most courageous man in the room. He faces certain death not with a sword, but with unarmed integrity.
So the two warriors leave the capital. The Qin brothers throw them a farewell dinner at the 10-mile pavilion. They exchange gifts, and the warriors ride off toward history.
And that seems like the natural end of the episode.
It does. But the text doesn't stop there.
No, it lingers on the Qin brothers, and I'm glad you brought this up because this subplot is often overlooked, but it's crucial for the thematic balance of the chapter.
The Qin brothers are back home, and they are agonizing. They see the situation deteriorating. They want to help.
They want to write a memorial, a formal memo to the emperor offering strategies, but they don't do it.
Why not?
They hesitate because of protocol. They had been previously dismissed from office. In the Tang bureaucracy, a civilian, even a prestigious one submitting military strategy to the emperor was a breach of etiquette.
It was not their place.
It was not their place. It seems absurd to us. The empire is burning, and they're worried about filing the paperwork correctly.
But that was the world they lived in. They represented the civil side of the state, order, protocol, hierarchy. They couldn't just write off like Jiyun.
So they're stuck in this limbo. And then, Deus Ex Machina, a messenger arrives from the palace.
An imperial decree. The emperor reinstates them to their original official posts and summons them to court.
Just like that. And the text gives a very specific, almost mystical explanation for this. It quotes a couplet. Just because of a scholar in a dream, suddenly two Zhuangguins arise in the forest.
What does that mean?
It refers to the emperor having a dream, likely a vision of a spirit or a sage that reminded him of the loyal Qin family. In Chinese historiography and literature, dreams are often how the heavens communicate with the Son of Heaven.
So it's a sign that the cosmic order is trying to correct itself.
Exactly. It suggests that while the human administration, the chancellor, is failing, the spiritual mandate is trying to rally the faithful.
Right.
The warriors are gathering at Yangqi, and the loyal officials are being supernaturally pulled back into the court.